Hi guys. All right, let me go to today's agenda. So today is Monday the 3rd, and for math today, we did a game called Are You Smarter Than a Fourth Grader? And we did that together in class and with everybody online. And so the questions that we used are on here. And if you go down to the activities right here, are you smarter than a fourth grader? All right, so here we went over these. These are talking about different place values, and so we kept referencing back to that place value chart. So when you're talking about values of digits, remember you've got your hundreds, tens, your ones place. You've got, I'm going to put the decimal on top because I'm out of room, the tenths and the hundreds. So this decimal point right here is separating all of these whole numbers and all of these decimals. And so when you're talking about the value of the digit, whatever digit, like if I put a 5 here, it's not just a 5, it's a 500 because it's in that hundreds place. So questions, like this, just straight up, what's the value of the one? Questions like this, where you're taking, okay, here's 3 and 48 hundredths. What are those actual values? So the 3 is in the ones place, the 4 is in that tenths place, the 8 is in the hundredths place. So matching that up with its expanded notation. This one again down here, just looking what's the value. Again, going back to that place value chart, I know this is in the thousands, so it's got to be 4,000. And then on the third page here, connecting decimals with fractions. So here, if you have 79 hundredths, that 100 right there tells you that you are in the hundredths place. So here's the tenths and the hundredths. If you have 79, that's talking about 79 parts out of 100. And so when you write this, if you were to put 79 in the hundredths place, you have to regroup the 7 because you can't have two digits. Regroup that over there, and then that's where you get your 0.79. And then on this next one, question 2, same thing, but now we have a decimal, or our fraction has, it's in the tenths place. So if let me make this a little bit longer. So here's my decimal, and I've got 13.7. Well, now that 7 is in the tenths, so I have to have my fraction with the, Rhea, hush. I have to have that denominator show that 10. Which equation shows an equivalent decimal and fraction? Here you've got 12 wholes and 12 wholes. And then so the 12s are in the same. And then 9 hundredths, that 9 is in the hundredths place. And then here the 100 shows as well that we're talking about 9 hundredths. On page 4, we're showing comparisons of fractions. So here using greater than, less than, or equal. And so on this one, you had a improper fraction and a mixed number. When you're comparing, you can't have both. So we broke down this right here. So we broke down the 15, we broke down the 7.5. So this was 1 whole, 2 wholes, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So there's the 7 wholes, and then here's the additional half part. So then whenever you go to rebuild this, you want to make everything the same. So I wanted to make it into an improper fraction. And so instead of counting 1 whole, 2 whole, and so on, I just counted the parts. So 2 plus 2 is 4. That would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 plus 1 more is 15, all over the same denominator all throughout the 2. So 15 over 2 is the same, so we put that it's equal to 7.5. On this next one, we're talking about something that is less. So we went ahead and put the less than symbol and put the 3/8 there. And then we're just finding which statement is true. Here, 8 is less than 9 when we multiply that out. 8 times 1 is 8. 3 times 3 is 9. 8 is less than 9, so that made that a true statement. And then that's where we stopped and drafted today for math. So we were using those questions to help with our game there. And then we let me see here. We went here. And we were looking at some of the questions for whole numbers and decimals, and this is a page that shows all the previous STAR questions for this one topic. And so we were talking about like on this one here, here's the percentages of how kids did in the past. So only 44% of all of Texas fourth graders got this question right. And there's quite a big percentage. If you look at C, 27%, and even D, 18%, and A, 10%. That's quite, that's a lot of kids choosing the wrong answer. More kids chose the wrong answer than the right answer. So we were talking about why. And so this says you've got a stadium that sold 33. Let me my marker here. 33,300. And it says, which statement about this number is true? Rhea. My dog says hi. All right. So when you're going through, so let's talk about why B is the correct answer. So if you remember back when we did this, we said every time we're moving along the place value chart, if we're moving to the left, we're getting bigger. If we're moving to the right, we're getting smaller. When we move just from one spot, like let's say we're in the ones place and then we move to the tens place, it's a base 10 model, so we're going times 10. Everything is times 10. But if we're moving to the right and we're getting smaller, then that's 1/10. So I said every time you see this fraction 1/10, if you're talking about 1/10 of the value, I want you to think, okay, that's the same as talking about something that's smaller. So I want you to put the word on here, smaller. So every time you see 1/10, write the word smaller. All right. Then when you see the word times 10, or here it says 10 times, that we're thinking, okay, if you multiply something by 10, you're making your number a lot bigger. So instead of writing times 10 or 10 times, put bigger. All right, so then you have to go back and you have to look at the statement. So it says the value of the digit in the thousands place. So I have to know that this right here is my thousands place. And it's talking about the value. Well, it's not a 3, it's a 3,000. So instead of writing thousands place, the value of the digit, I'm just going to go ahead and put it what it is. It's 3,000. Then when it says the value of the digit in the 10,000s place, that's here. So that one is in the 10,000. So 30, 10, 10, 3 times, not 30, I'm sorry. I meant to say 3, 10, if you do that 10, if you're counting by tens, 10, 20, 30, that would be 30,000. So instead of writing that, I'm just going to put 30,000. And then now when I read it, I'm just going to say 3,000 is smaller than 30,000. Yes, that is true. When I go over here and I look at C, again, 27%, that's almost 1/4 of people chose this, and it's just they got it backwards. It says the value of the digit in the hundreds place, so that would be 300. So 300 is bigger than the value of the thousands place, which is 3,000. So what you're saying is 300 is bigger than 3,000. No, that's not true. So that should have been taken out. Nobody should have chose that one. Okay, so just remembering that 1/10 small, 10 times big, talking about, what do these values actually mean, and just thinking about, okay, where are they on the place value chart? If I've got 3 of them, how much would that be? And then finding that value. So we went over that and just kind of did some error analysis, I guess, and just kind of talked about, okay, how can we make sure that we're not making that same mistake? Then we started playing a Kahoot game as well to review. And then for reading and writing today, we read chapters 13 through 15 of Crenshaw. And then we worked on section 2. And then we reviewed some fiction today. So we went over to Seesaw. And we went to here where it says right here, reading week 34. So today we read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and this is page 1, 2, 3, and 4. And your job is, we read and we talked about it together, and then your job is to go back and read and record it, just practicing reading. And as you're practicing reading, I want you practicing just being fluent and not talking like a robot, and just putting some different emphasis on different words. Like if you say the word remarkable, like you don't want to say it like it's the most boring thing in the world. Like spice it up a little bit, make it when you talk, you want your you don't want to be so monotone where you're just talking like a robot. Alice was beginning to get you want it to sound the same way as you talk normally. Like if you were talking to a friend, you want it to be very fluent, very smooth, and be very expressive. So practice that as you are reading through this and recording. And then we played another game and went through some questions with that. We'll keep playing tomorrow. So hopefully if you missed today, you'll be on tomorrow and you can jump into our game with us. And then let's see. Also on the reading, if you go here on classwork, go up to the top here. Go down under book club. There's Star Practice, this reading resources. And some different things that we talked about are summarizing. So we were talking about just the importance of when you get a summary. The summary needs to be beginning, middle, and end. It cannot just be like we were looking at a question and it completely missed the whole middle section. There was no middle part even mentioned about it. And it had the beginning part and it had the end, but it completely missed, the major thing that happened in the middle of that chunk of paragraphs. And so we had to take it out because you want something that is showing what's something that's happening in the beginning, what's something in the middle, and then the end. And, some of those were missing. Author's purpose, you can click and watch these. So author's purpose, just thinking about, why, when I read this part on the story about Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, what was the purpose? Why did the author include, this photo, and what is it showing me? You need to not just look at it and say, oh, that's cute, or, that's nice. Why? What was the purpose? Why? How does it help me better understand the story and what's going on? So just be thinking about, thinking about why, why certain things are, said the way that they are, different context clues and things like that we talked about. So like with this word saucer, what words around it help you know what saucer means? So we said when it talks about milk at tea time, that helped us. Okay, we're talking not a flying saucer, we're talking about a saucer, like that she's drinking out of. And so just looking at different things like that we did today with our fiction story. And then tomorrow we'll move into nonfiction. And then for our daily language review, this was in Seesaw, and it's right here on week 34. And so we went over this first left side, 1 through 6. So we were talking about missing punctuation, talking about proper nouns, which words should be capitalized, and then verbs, proper nouns, homophones, and spelling patterns here. And then on the right side, so once you fill that in, on the right side over here, it says, quote from the text. It says, you wouldn't have thought it was a place where people were worried or hungry or sad. Our school librarian likes to say, you can't judge a book by its cover. Maybe it's the same way with neighborhoods. Maybe you can't judge a neighborhood by its swans. So in the story, if you go back to page 47 and a little bit before it on 46, Jackson is talking about the name of his school. The area where he lives is Swan Village, and then it's like a Swan something elementary. I forget, but it's Swan something. And so all these things around him have this name of Swan, which sounds like, it sounds like a nice area, swans, sounds, like it from the outside, it might sound like a nice place to live and to be and all this. But here you have Jackson and his family struggling with money, and they've got all these financial problems and stresses, and they're in the middle of selling a lot of their possessions and things like that. And so, by looking at the name, you wouldn't see the stress and the hunger and the hardships and things like that he's dealing with. So go ahead, talk about, which I kind of just answered for you, so sorry about that. But that's what we had talked about, is just, you can't, you need to keep that in mind, that what you see on the outside, just like, how you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't just decide, oh yeah, that's a good book, or no, that's not a good book by its cover. Same thing with people. You can't just look at a person and be able to tell how they're truly doing behind, closed doors, or when they go back home, you know, who knows what's happening. Maybe their parents are getting divorced, or maybe they got in a fight with their mom right before school, or maybe, mom had to make the choice between paying rent or buying groceries, and she didn't want to be on the street, so guess what? There's no groceries. So you just don't know everybody's story. And so that's why it's important to, approach everybody with love and kindness and all of that. And so, talk about that quote, and, make that connection with what he's saying about, how you can't judge a neighborhood. Like, it sounds silly. You can't judge a neighborhood by its swans, but try to get, what is he get deeper down? What is he talking about when he says that? Then we went to lunch and recess. When we came back, we did our lab. So the lab, if you're going to do it from home, it's right, where is it? Down here. Oh, and here's that Crenshaw assignment 2. So here we've been talking about inherited traits and learned behaviors, and we did our DNA lab today. So when you open this up, you've got down on page 11 is where it starts. So the problem, you've got this question here. It says, can I see my DNA with my own eyes? And if so, what does it look like? So that's kind of the question that we're asking. So you can make a hypothesis and just answer it. Yes, I think I can see my DNA with my own eyes, and I think it would look like blank. Or no, I don't think I'd be able to. Rhea, shh, you're so loud. I don't. She doesn't listen. I don't think I would be able to see my, DNA with my own eyes. But if I could, this is what I think it might look like. So go ahead, answer the question, and just, think about what we've talked about and what you already know, and just kind of put it all together and make a statement down here on the bottom. Then over here, draw a picture. What do you think it's going to look like? And then on page 12, excuse me, these are the steps that we went through. So you take a tablespoon of salt and you put it in a bottle of water and you shake it up. And we talked about, how we created a mixture, and it's a solution because you've got all those salt particles dissolving in the water, and you've got all of it. Like everybody was like, "Oh, it looks just like water." It's like, yeah, because when you shake it up, all that salt dissolves into the water. And then after that, you're going to take 3 tablespoons of the salt solution, and then you put it in a clear plastic cup. So you pour it out, you put it in the cup, and then you gargle as much as you can and swish it all around back and forth. And your cheek cells get suspended into the water when you do that. Then you add a single drop of dish soap in the cup, and you have to stir super, super gently. You don't want any bubbles. And when you're doing that, just like the soap, when you use soap in your to wash dishes and things like that, and it breaks down the grease and it breaks down all the dirt and junk on all the food and all the stuff on your dishes. Same thing with this. It's breaking down that cell membrane to where the DNA is stored, and it releases the DNA. Then in a separate cup, you're going to mix your, just like that rubbing alcohol that you use, like if you get a scratch or something like that, and you clean up your scrape or something like that. Just you're going to take 100 milliliters, which is just right under 7 tablespoons. So we did about like 3 1/4 tablespoons of that alcohol with the 3 drops of food coloring. And the ones that worked better, that were easier to see, because we did half of them blue in the class, and then we did the other half with, it was like a yellow, orangish color. And the lighter the food coloring, the better. And so then while holding the saltwater solution at a 45-degree angle, you gently pour the alcohol into it. So you're going to combine the 2 liquids, and you just do it really gentle, like you just barely pour it in a little bit at a time. Then you have to wait. Then you get a coffee stirrer and you gently swirl the mixture around. And as you're mixing, you start to see some changes. So it says, can you find any white clumps? So yes, we saw white clumps floating in the solution. And then we said, can you find any stringy material? Yes. It was down in the cup, and then it was also on the straw. And then we said we were able to break down the cell membrane and expose the DNA. It looked like white stringy clumps. So it was cool getting to be able to see it. And if you remember back, we were talking about, these things have all of these things that make up who we are all being held on this, and so it's cool to like actually see it in person. So hopefully you get a chance to do that. All the ingredients and everything are right here. So the bottle of water, the dish soap, it has to be clear. Salt, the food coloring, the alcohol, the plastic cups. You needed 2 plastic cups, the coffee stir, and then you needed the tablespoon. So hopefully you were able to do that, and everybody that did it at home was able to see the results as well. So that was cool. All right, so draft that. Then for social studies, if you're going down, all this week we're just reviewing. So we are over here in Seesaw, And if you go to activities, week 34, social studies, we open this here. Rhea. All right, so all this week, again, it's just a review. So this is just different activities and things like that that we've kind of covered throughout the year. And so first, on this first one is just labeling the map, knowing where we are, what's our state capital, what kind of, here's Texas, where's our capital. Um, I want you to make a color key. So what are these states that are bordering? So go ahead, color them in, and then color the box over here, and then label what they are. Make sure these are specific states. We're not just saying state, we're saying a specific state, so it needs to be capitalized. So New Mexico. So anything over here that has like this little symbol means that it's a link you can click on. So the spellings and map are right there for you to reference if you're not sure. And then on page 2, I'm going to go through this whole thing because we're just kind of working on it on our own pace throughout the week, because we're kind of juggling this at the same time and doing some STAR practice with our online program. So we're just kind of working on this at our own, at our own pace. So the second page is all about the Texas flag, the 3 colors, what the colors stand for, what the flag represents. So there's some facts here, and then you can click on this website here for some information as well. This one's about the Alamo. This one's getting into talking about Texas symbols. So here's the photo. Go ahead, match it up, and then you're going to need to look up. Some of these you're going to have to look up. So you can look up the name. Then, like for example, this bird, I see that it's a bird, so I'm going to put it under state bird, but I need to look up, okay, what's the name of our state bird? So I'm going to do some research. This one is all about the different regions, and so once you read about them by clicking here, I want you to go ahead and fill in what region do you live in, and then I want you to think about the region we live in compared to some others in Texas. How are they similar? How are they different from some of the other ones? Then we get into some books. So there's some links there and link here. This one is a kind of a fun fact about armadillos and has a connection to an input-output table using some multiplication with that. And then on page 8, you could draw your own for a fun Friday activity, and you can upload yours here. And then Friday also, if you go to your Google Classroom and go up here to the top, there's a Texas state or Texas symbols for bingo. So make sure you're try to remember some of those symbol names, and that'll help you on Friday when we play our bingo game. And then after that, we worked on our Mother's Day project, and then everybody had Steam, so make sure you log into Steam and see what the activity is on there. And then tomorrow I will have a asynchronous lesson for my students that are virtual. I have a doctor's appointment in the afternoon, so I'll be leaving at lunchtime and going to that appointment. And then whenever we'll talk about it more in the morning, but just in case, I wanted to make sure you knew on there. And then that's pretty much the rest. All this week in math reading is lots of review. We were looking at the calendar today, so we've got this week, and then STAR is next week on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then the makeup days are 13th and the 14th. So lots of STAR days next week, and then grades. I need grades in by this 14th right here. So you have this week and next week to get all your grades in, and then after that, nothing else is going to be accepted. So then we have that next week and the week after that. So we are almost 5th graders. I can't believe it. It's crazy. So crazy year, and I can't believe it's already over almost. So hang in there and really work hard on getting these assignments in. I need you to go back and look at all the way back from week 27 and really make sure, okay, am I happy with this grade? Am I, did I not did I not just turn it in, but did I turn it in and do it correct? So make sure you're looking over that. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.